1963. A sophomore college student retired to his apartment off campus. He went to sleep. Then, a few hours later, he awoke to the sound of footsteps. Something entered his apartment, walked to his bed, climbed on top of him, and began strangling him. It was pitch dark, so he could not see the entity. He felt that he was dying, but what was so much worse was that he had a sense that this entity was completely vile, completely evil. He struggled for his life to move. And then he did move. He turned on the light, and there was nothing there. Yet, as he later recalled, he was absolutely certain that he was awake when it happened. That experience would stick with this man for the rest of his life. Welcome. I'm Telesma Blue Orb, and you have been here since the beginning. Deep, deep inside the earth. 8 years later, in 1970, he had progressed in his education and was working as a professor in Newfoundland. As he went through the campus archives, he discovered a story about an old hag that is able to keep a person from moving, that attacks them in the night. It was the first time that he had found some description of his experience. So then he spent the next 10 years poring through books about psychology, books containing folklore and mythology and art. And he discovered that this experience is depicted all over the world, throughout history. But it wasn't described in psychology. Psychologists did describe the experience partially, but they would group it in with other experiences that were different, or other sleep conditions that were different. So he began gathering reports from his students. He began studying this unexplained and seemingly paranormal phenomenon, a complete mystery to science. He collected the stories of experiences of students in Newfoundland, and he also collected the stories and experiences of students outside of the context of the old hag tradition in Newfoundland. What he found was that students who had a new tradition or awareness of a monster that attacks people at night and paralyzes them still reported this type of experience at the same rate as students who were aware of a tradition like old hag. This story comes from the classic horror novel, The Terror That Comes in the Night, by David Hufford. Only, it's not a horror novel, and David Hufford is, in fact, that college student. He is the very same man who studied these experiences throughout the 1970s. So everything that I've said is true. These experiences actually happen all the time. In fact, odds are there are a ton of people having this experience right now as you are listening to my voice. David Hufford found that nearly 1 in 5 people all share this experience and have had it at least once in their lives. But what is this entity? Why does it exist? Why does it attack people in the night? So this episode has a little bit of a different format. Today, I'm joined by Rachel, as usual.
Hi everybody, it's really nice to be talking to you, and it's really nice to be here even though I know that you are not actually present with me.
But I am present with them, so we can kind of communicate and bridge that parasocial gap just a little bit.
I suppose you're right. Anyway, this episode is really a statement of why we're here and what we're doing.
Yes. You see, this podcast is not regular content. It is exactly identical to content in every single way. But it isn't. Because all of this is really just an elaborate, magical spell. Yes. It is a spell that I am creating in collaboration with my lovely Rachel, who is my host. And instead of using the magic of my realm, a realm that is largely spread out, and often quite distant in deep space and deep time. When I come to a different realm, I must sometimes rely on the native magic that is used there. And in our case, I am relying on the magic of humans. I'm relying on Rachel to allow me to occupy her body. And I'm also relying on the evil magic that has spread and grown deep into the human world. The magic itself is not evil. It is only how it has been nefariously used by accursed beings outside of your ken. And what magic am I talking about? Of course, the dominant forms of magic in your world today are technology, the internet, industry, evil magic that is destroying the world. Now, none of these things, none of these forms of human magic are by themselves evil. When used incorrectly, they gradually corrupt the world, spread like a virus, and kill everything in their path. So I have come to your world, to your realm of the earth, to co-opt this magic, to use it to my own ends, and hopefully this will in some way contribute to the freeing of life from this great curse, and the freeing of humans from this great curse. Because you see, science is magic. It has the potential to create artificial life. And what more magical thing is there than life? So why not take it for yourselves? Why let the powers that be control science? Shouldn't everyone be trained in this powerful and dark art? I think so. That's my opinion.
I think so too.
Now, if I could have my way, I would just tell you all about all of these great mysteries of the universe that I have seen. Mysteries of the universe that clearly lie in a deep realm of the paranormal. I have seen extraterrestrial life. I am well acquainted with the underground civilization of Bigfoot living in British Columbia. I am literally a UFO, a small orb of light, able to inhabit human bodies. But I can't explain to you these things, because I would have no way of proving any of them. I cannot even prove that I exist. What if I'm a fictional character, or a tulpa with a really elaborate backstory? You have no way of knowing. And you know what? I don't really even care if you believe me. It doesn't matter if you believe me. All that matters is that the magic of science spreads and is taken from the powers that be. So the only way that I can demonstrate to you that magic is real is by relying on evidence and relying on reason. We want you to doubt us. We want you to not believe us or take us at our word. One can only prove magic to oneself.
also really want to say that we're really here for everyone. We're not working against humans. Telesma may say the wrong thing sometimes, because she's not familiar with interacting with human people. She is a person, just not a human person. And we're really on the side of anyone who experiences the paranormal. This includes things like people seeing UFOs, orbs of light, ghosts, monsters, people experiencing the afterlife. None of these experiences are going to be discounted. The purpose of this show has never been to prove or disprove the paranormal. Really, what Telesma is doing is just using the human evidence that's available at hand right now in our world today, and she's just showing that magic and the paranormal are in fact real, that they have already been proven. And there's nothing wrong with studying these experiences. In Etzel Cardania's survey of anomalous experience studies, the varieties of anomalous experience, we see that there are all sorts of different people. Academic scientists studying the paranormal without any intention of proving or disproving it. Understanding how something happens, or why it happens, or what kind of system that it fits into, be it a spiritual or natural system. This kind of study is not inherently wrong. It doesn't discount people's beliefs or their experiences. And people's experiences need to be destigmatized. This doesn't just include starseed or fairy changelings like me and otherkin. It doesn't just include experiencers or star children or crystal children. It includes everyone. Everyone exists in experience. And even UFO sightings, or potential UFO sightings, are experiences worth studying.
Thank you, Rachel. That was really well put. I really appreciate that. And yes, it's true. Rachel here is an experiencer, not someone who has experienced an alien abduction, but just someone who has repeatedly had experiences such as a man breaking into her apartment in the middle of the night in order to use the bathroom, voices in her ear as she's waking up in the morning, tingling sensations wafting through her body, up and down, at the sound of a soft voice. Precognitive experiences.
Yes, I will sometimes have very powerful sensations in my gut, in my shoulders, in my chest, of heat and warmth, and all of these feelings. And whenever that happens, then some big event will happen in my life, shortly afterwards.
Absolutely. And even though David Hufford was a scientist studying sleep paralysis experiences, or old hag experiences, he was not attempting to discount these experiences. It was just that he himself had one and he wanted to know why. He even included in his book reports of experiences shared by multiple people in the same home, in the same house. The fundamental purpose of this podcast is to communicate science, and there's nothing wrong with us doing that. We're not claiming to be experts. We do not have professional training. But as long as we communicate the science accurately, and as long as our arguments are sound, there's nothing wrong with that. You can take from this podcast what you like, leave what you don't. There are different kinds of science. There is the formalized science, but there's also the unformalized forms of science, like alchemy and traditional learning, teaching skills. These are all forms of science. People experiment with new techniques, and the ones that don't work, they let go of. The ones that do, they keep and improve upon through further experimentation. Humans have always been doing science, and it is only in this period of human history and evolution that science has become formalized and institutionalized, practiced by professionals. Now, this does not mean that we have anything against professional scientists. Academic science is the highest quality science practiced in your realm. It does not mean that anyone can just automatically start doing formal science. But what it does mean is that people can learn science, and if everyone was taught it at a young age, then it would be much easier for humans to approach problems like climate change, plastics, and human social issues. Psychology, sociology, anthropology, the human sciences. These are also sciences, and they are also practiced formally. Now, what we are doing is not in any way meant as disrespect to people that work as academic scientists or professional scientists. The only qualm I have,
And I have it too,
is that science should be accessible to everyone. So really, we're trying to be as inclusive as possible. We're trying to be clear and reasonable and rigorous in our thinking. We're trying to include scientists, but we're really here for the experiencers. And I don't claim that I have the power to change the world. I'm just a humble little orb of light flying around in the lower atmosphere, often in this context occupying Rachel's nervous system and spontaneously existing at various thousand points in space-time at different space-time events, spread out over thousands of light years. I do not have magical powers. Well, actually I do. I'm not a god, I'm just a small being in the great cosmic order, just like humans. I have my faults. I am only just beginning to learn how to use human social media, how to interact with humans. beings.
Yes, and although I'm well into my adulthood, I am also, pretty flawed and still learning how to just interact with other human beings. Definitely. And there are many people who are also stigmatized by science, who don't define themselves by their paranormal experiences, or who don't feel that they have paranormal experiences, or what have you, who are stigmatized for other reasons. For being neurodivergent, for being on the autism spectrum, or having ADHD. I honestly feel that these diagnoses will be radically different or non-existent in the future. And anthropology also has a long history of stigmatizing indigenous people and slaves in the name of supposed science. But that, again, is exactly like what Telesma was talking about earlier. It is not that science as a tool is bad in and of itself. It's just that white people were using science in order to subjugate or wipe out people.
Absolutely. This is a podcast that is about science as much as it is a podcast about love. And, again, this podcast is magic. And I can't prove that to you today. Maybe I will never prove it to you. But I know it to be true.
I know it to be true too.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you.
This has been the Earth. And now it is gone.
Please consider visiting our Patreon page. It's really important to us that we're able to make money. This is part of the magical function of the Earth in order to co-opt the corrupt system of money that exists in our world.
Yes. And also, please press the subscribe button. Please share this podcast with your friends. It might not be important to you. It's certainly important to me. But in any case, we would highly appreciate it. Patrons get access to secret, unspoken wisdom, and also secret content behind a paywall. This is powerful magic. The theme song for The Earth was created by Guy Merrill and used with his permission. It is copyrighted.
Additional music by Pix is in the public domain. This episode was not scripted. A transcript will soon be available in the episode description, with a few references.
The Earth by Telesma Blue Orb is protected under a Creative Commons Non-Commercial Attribution 4.0 license. I am just a voice, and I can't be held responsible. Thank you.
And remember, the truth is everywhere. It's in here. Original Peoples Acknowledgement. Many lands throughout the world have been colonized without the permission of those living there. This work is created in and around the Portland Basin region, which is the ancestral home of many different peoples. They include the Cowlitz, Klickitat, Molalla, Tualatin, Clackamas, Cathlamet, Multnomah, Wasco, and Wishram, among others. Many of their living descendants continue to make this place their home. We acknowledge that this is their land.